Alien SOS called the most dangerous Deathworlders. The stars looked peaceful from the observation deck of Viridian 7. The massive space station floated quietly in neutral territory, far from any planet or sun. Inside its metal corridors, more than 50,000 aliens from hundreds of different worlds lived and worked together. They traded goods, shared knowledge, and built friendships across the galaxy. The Galactic Council had built this place as a symbol of unity and peace. Velmora stood in the command center, her crystalline body reflecting the soft blue lights of the control panels. She had managed this station for 12 cycles, and every day brought new visitors from distant stars. Today had started like any other normal day. Then the alarm screamed to life. "Commander!" her assistant shouted. "Ships dropping out of hyperspace. Multiple contacts." Velmora's body flickered with alarm as the screens filled with red warnings. Dozens of warships appeared around the station like predators surrounding prey. She recognized the markings immediately. The Crimson Raiders. Pirates. The most violent criminals in this sector of space. "Raise shields. Send distress signals to the Council," Velmora ordered. But it was too late. The pirates fired specialized weapons that cut through the station's shields like they were made of paper. Within minutes, armed raiders were breaking through airlocks and flooding into the corridors. Screams echoed through the communication system as thousands of innocent aliens tried to flee or hide. Velmora's fingers moved quickly across her console, trying to send out a call for help before the pirates could stop her. She managed to transmit one emergency signal before the communications went dark. The message shot out into space, racing toward 3 different destinations. The Galactic Council Military Command received it. The nearest Council patrol fleet received it. And because of a small error in the routing system, Earth's United Space Command received it too. The pirate commander, Gratok, stomped into the command center minutes later. He was massive, standing nearly 3 meters tall with thick scales covering his body like natural armor. His teeth were sharp, and his claws could tear through steel doors. Behind him, armed pirates took control of every system. "Wise decision not to resist too much," Gratok growled at Velmora. "Your people live, for now. The Council will pay our ransom or we start killing hostages. 1 every hour until they give us what we want." Velmora said nothing. She had sent the distress signal. Help would come. The Council had powerful military forces. They just needed to arrive in time. Far across space, Captain Jinho stood on the bridge of the USC Indomitable. His ship was not large compared to the massive Council vessels he had seen at diplomatic meetings. It was a destroyer-class ship from Earth, designed for exploration and light combat. The crew was small but skilled. "Captain, we're receiving a distress signal," Commander Yuna announced from her tactical station. Her eyes scanned the incoming data. "It's from Viridian 7, the commercial station. They're under attack by pirates." Jinho moved to her station and studied the information. "How far away are we?" Lieutenant Doyen looked up from his engineering console. "At maximum speed, we can be there in 6 hours, sir." "What about Council forces?" Jinho asked. Yuna pulled up more data. "The nearest Council fleet is 7 hours away. Actually, wait. We're receiving another message from Council Command." She played the audio. A formal voice spoke in perfect galactic standard. "Attention human vessel Indomitable. We have received the distress signal from Viridian 7. Do not engage the hostile forces. Your species is classified as non-military. Maintain your position and wait for proper Council authorities to handle this situation." The bridge fell silent. Every member of the crew knew what that classification meant. When Earth had joined the galactic community 20 years ago, the Council had studied human technology and found it primitive. No plasma weapons, no energy shields, no advanced propulsion systems. They had labeled Earth as non-military and politely excluded humans from any serious defense operations. Jinho looked at his crew. Commander Yuna met his eyes with a steady gaze. She had served in Earth's military for 15 years before joining the space program. Lieutenant Doyen had been a computer specialist who could break into any system. Dr. Hana, their medical officer, had been part of special operations before deciding to heal instead of fight. And young Ensign Taiho, their pilot, had reflexes that seemed impossible even to other humans. Opinions? Jinho asked quietly. 50,000 hostages, Yuna said. We arrive an hour before council forces. That's 60 lives per minute if we wait. The ship can handle it, Doyen added. We might not have their fancy shields, but we're faster and harder to detect. Hana spoke up from her medical station. They're civilians, Captain. Families, children. If we can help... Taiho turned from his pilot controls. Sir, I can get us there in 5.5 hours if we push the engines. Jinho nodded slowly. He had known what his decision would be before asking. Set course for Viridian 7, maximum speed. Doyen, start analyzing their station systems. I want to know every way in and out. Yuna, prepare tactical options. Hana, ready the medical bay. Taiho, get us there fast. Yes, sir, they responded together. As the Indomitable changed course and accelerated, Jinho sat in his captain's chair and thought about what they were racing toward. The council saw humans as primitive because they looked at technology. They didn't understand what Earth really was. Earth had crushing gravity that would break the bones of most alien species. The atmosphere was so rich in oxygen it was toxic to half the galaxy. The weather patterns were violent and unpredictable. Diseases evolved constantly, forcing human immune systems to wage constant war. Predators had hunted early humans, teaching them to be clever, fast, and ruthless when needed. Humans didn't develop advanced energy weapons because they had perfected kinetic ones over thousands of years of warfare. They didn't need shields because they built armor and learned to move fast. They didn't have powerful sensors because they had trained their eyes and ears and instincts to detect danger. The galaxy called Earth a death world. They said it like it was a weakness. Jinho smiled grimly. They would learn. On Viridian 7, Gratok watched his sensors detect an approaching vessel. It was small. The identification came through. Human ship. He laughed, a sound like grinding rocks. One tiny ship, he said to his lieutenants. From that primitive species? What do they think they can do? His second-in-command pulled up Earth's classification file. According to council records, they have no energy weapons, no shields. Basic propulsion. They are rated as non-threatening. Grotok's laughter grew louder. This will be entertaining. Let them come. We'll capture them and add them to our hostages. Maybe the council will pay extra for the amusement. He settled into the command chair and waited. In 5 hours, he would learn why Earth's classification was the Galactic Council's biggest mistake. The Indomitable raced through space, carrying 5 humans who had evolved on the most dangerous planet the galaxy had ever catalogued. They were going to save 50,000 lives. Or die trying. Alien SOS called the most dangerous Deathworlders. The Indomitable dropped out of hyperspace exactly where Jinho wanted it. The massive bulk of Viridian 7 filled the view screen, surrounded by the pirate fleet like sharks around wounded prey. Dozens of raider ships patrolled the area, their weapons charged and ready. Scanning the station now, Yuna reported. Her fingers moved across her console with practiced speed. I'm detecting the hostages. They're being held in 3 main areas: the central plaza, the residential sectors, and the docking bays. Guards everywhere. Communication incoming, Doyen announced. The pirates are hailing us. Put it through, Jinho said calmly. Grotok's scaled face appeared on the screen. His yellow eyes studied Jinho with amusement. Human ship. You are very far from your primitive little planet. Turn around now, or we will destroy you. You have 60 seconds to comply. Jinho leaned forward in his chair. I'm Captain Jinho of the USC Indomitable. We received a distress signal. I'd like to discuss terms for releasing the hostages. The pirate commander laughed, a harsh sound that made several bridge officers wince. Discuss? You have 1 small ship. We have an entire fleet. But I am feeling generous today. I will allow one of you to come aboard the station. We can discuss terms before I kill you. Accepted, Jinho said immediately. I'm sending a shuttle with our negotiator. No tricks. Grotok's laughter stopped. He had expected the human to refuse, to show some sense of self-preservation. Very well. Dock at Port 7. Come alone and unarmed. The communication cut off. Yuna stood up from her station. I'll go. Commander, he's planning to capture you, Jinho said. I know. Yuna checked her equipment. She wore a standard Earth combat suit, gray and black with reinforced plating at vital areas. At her hip was a simple kinetic pistol that fired metal bullets using chemical propellant. Primitive technology by galactic standards. That's what I'm counting on. Hana approached and handed Yuna a small medical kit. Try not to get shot. I'll do my best. Yuna smiled and headed for the shuttle bay. Doyen spoke quietly to Jinho. Captain, while she keeps them busy, I can start working on the station's systems. These pirates aren't as smart as they think. They've isolated the main network, but there are always backup systems. Give me 20 minutes and I'll have eyes inside. Do it, Jinho ordered. Taiho, prep the ship for rapid maneuvers. We might need to move fast. Hana, get your teams ready for multiple casualties. Already on it, Hana replied, heading to the medical bay. Yuna piloted the small shuttle across the space between the Indomitable and the station. Through the view screen, she could see pirates watching her approach with their weapons ready. She kept her breathing steady and her mind clear. This was not the first dangerous situation she had faced. It would not be the last. She docked at Port 7 exactly as instructed. The airlock opened, and 6 pirate guards stood waiting. They were all large creatures with natural armor and heavy weapons. Each one looked capable of tearing a human apart with their bare claws. Follow us, one guard growled. Make any wrong move and we shoot you. Yuna stepped out of the shuttle with her hands visible. The guards surrounded her and led her through the station corridors. She noted everything she saw. Guard positions, security cameras, structural weak points, hostage locations. Her training had taught her to observe and remember everything, even under pressure. The other aliens in the corridors watched her pass. Many had never seen a human before. Velmora, the station commander, felt her crystalline body flicker with concern. She knew about Deathworlds. She knew that creatures from such places were unpredictable and dangerous. But this human seemed so small compared to the massive pirates. They reached the central command center. Gratok sat in a large chair that groaned under his weight. He was even bigger in person, nearly 3 meters of muscle and scales and sharp teeth. His claws tapped against the armrest like knives on metal. So, he rumbled, a human. I've heard about your kind. You come from a high-gravity world with poisonous air. You have no real technology, no shields, no plasma weapons. You still use projectiles like primitives. He leaned forward. What makes you think you can negotiate anything? Yuna stood perfectly still, her posture relaxed but ready. We're human. We come from Earth. Do you know what that means? It means you're weak, Gratok said. It means we evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every single day. Yuna's voice was calm and steady. Our gravity would crush most of you. Our atmosphere would poison you. Our diseases would eat through your bodies. We lived alongside predators that make you look slow. We survived ice ages and droughts and disasters that wiped out most life on our planet. And we didn't just survive. We thrived. She took one step forward. The guards tensed, but Gratok waved them back, curious now. You want to know what humans are? Yuna continued. We're the species that fought our way to the top of the food chain on the deadliest planet in known space. We're the species that turned warfare into an art form, because if we didn't, we'd be extinct. You have weapons and technology. We have something better. We have millions of years of evolution that taught us one thing. Win or die. Gratok stared at her for a long moment. Then he laughed again. Big words from such a small creature. Guards, seize her. Let's see how tough these Deathworlders really are. 6 guards moved forward simultaneously. They were trained warriors, each one experienced in combat. They expected the human to try to run or to surrender. What happened next took 8 seconds. Yuna moved. Her body became a blur of motion, trained reflexes honed by Earth's crushing gravity and centuries of martial arts development. The first guard reached for her and found his arm twisted in a lock that used his own momentum against him. She struck his throat with precise force, not enough to kill, but enough to make him collapse, gasping. The second guard swung a massive fist. Yuna ducked under it, moving with a speed that seemed impossible to creatures from low-gravity worlds. She swept his legs, and 300 kilograms of armored pirate crashed to the floor. The third and fourth guards fired their weapons. Yuna had already moved, using the second guard's falling body as cover. The energy bolts hit their own comrade. She rolled, came up with the first guard's dropped weapon, and fired 2 precise shots that hit the remaining guards' weapons, destroying them without killing anyone. The fifth guard charged. Yuna sidestepped, struck 3 pressure points on his body that her training had taught her worked on most species, and he dropped unconscious. The sixth guard, seeing his entire team disabled in seconds, hesitated. That hesitation cost him. Yuna disarmed him with a move so fast he never saw it coming. She stood in the center of the command room, slightly out of breath, surrounded by 6 unconscious or disabled guards. Her weapon was now pointed at Gratok, who had stopped laughing. "As I said," Yuna spoke calmly into her communicator, "we're human. We don't need fancy technology when we have millions of years of evolution teaching us how to fight." She kept her eyes on Gratok. "Captain, negotiations are proceeding." Jinho's voice came through clearly. "Understood, Commander. Doyen reports he has access to station systems. We can see everything now." On the Indomitable, Doyen smiled at his console. The pirates had thought their security was impenetrable. But human-computer science had evolved through decades of cyber warfare, hacking, and digital conflict. He had found the backup systems, exploited 3 security flaws, and now controlled the station's internal sensors. "Captain, I have a complete map. Every pirate position, every hostage location, every weapon emplacement. Sending it to your display now." Jinho studied the data. "Hana, Taiho, you're up. Take your teams and begin hostage recovery. Use the maintenance shafts. Avoid detection as long as possible." In the docking bay, Hana and Taiho led a small team of crew members into the station. They moved through access tunnels that were too small for most species but perfectly sized for humans. Their Earth-standard training meant they could move faster and longer than any pirate guard. Gratok finally found his voice. "What are you?" Yuna smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "We're the most dangerous Deathworlders in the galaxy, and you just called us for help." Chopper's alien SOS called the most dangerous Deathworlders. Space rippled and tore as ships emerged from hyperspace. The Galactic Council peacekeeping fleet had arrived, led by Admiral Tavrek aboard his flagship. He was from a species that evolved on a peaceful, low-gravity world. His people had never known war until they reached the stars. Even then, they preferred negotiation and overwhelming displays of force to actual combat. "Scan the situation," Tavrek ordered. His tactical officer, a being of crystalline logic, worked quickly at the controls. "Admiral, the pirates control the station. Hostages are confirmed, but..." The officer paused, confused. "Sir, I'm detecting unusual activity. The pirate communication systems are being disrupted. Their defensive weapons are powering down. And there's a human signal coming from inside the command center." Tavrek's upper appendages flexed with concern. "The human ship. I ordered them to stand down. Open a channel." On the Indomitable, Jinho received the angry message from the Council Admiral. "Human vessel, you were explicitly ordered not to engage. We have protocols for hostage situations. You may have endangered thousands of lives." "Admiral," Jinho replied calmly, "my crew is currently rescuing those lives while your protocols were still 7 hours away. I suggest you prepare to receive freed hostages." Deep inside Viridian 7, Hana and her team moved through the maintenance shafts like ghosts. They had split into 3 groups, each targeting a different hostage location. The corridors were cramped and dark, but humans had evolved as persistence hunters, capable of moving through difficult terrain for hours without tiring. "Team 2, I have visual on hostages," Hana whispered into her communicator. "Count as 47 civilians, 6 guards. The guards are positioned poorly. They're not expecting an attack from above." She studied the situation carefully. The guards were big and strong, but they moved slowly. Their weapons were powerful, but they held them carelessly. They had never fought anyone who truly knew combat. On my mark, Hana said. 3, 2, 1, now. Her team dropped from the ceiling shafts simultaneously. The guards barely had time to react. Hana's training took over, muscle memory from years of special operations work. She disarmed the first guard with a move that used his own weapon's weight against him. Her teammate struck another guard's weapon arm, and the alien's own biology worked against him as his slow nervous system failed to compensate. In 20 seconds, all 6 guards were disabled. Not killed, but completely unable to fight. The hostages stared in shock. "We're from the human ship Indomitable," Hana announced. "Follow us quickly and quietly. We're getting you out of here." One of the hostages, a small alien child, looked up at her. "Are humans really from a death world?" Hana smiled gently. "Yes, but don't worry. That just means we're very good at keeping people safe." Across the station, Taiho led his team through a different section. His job was more complicated. The pirates had gathered over 200 hostages in the central plaza, with dozens of guards watching them. A direct assault would get people killed. "Doyen, you ready?" Taiho spoke into his communicator. From the Indomitable, Doyen's fingers danced across his keyboard. "Give me 10 seconds. I'm going to give you a distraction you won't believe." The lights in the central plaza suddenly went dark. The artificial gravity fluctuated wildly. Alarms began blaring from every speaker. Holographic displays showed fake fire warnings and hull breaches. The pirate guards panicked, shouting and trying to figure out what was happening. Taiho and his team used the chaos perfectly. They moved through the confused guards like water, their earth-trained reflexes allowing them to navigate the changing gravity that sent the pirates stumbling. They guided hostages toward exits, their voices calm and reassuring even as everything around them seemed to be falling apart. "This way, stay low, move quickly," Taiho directed. A young ensign who had grown up playing zero-gravity sports carried 2 small alien children who couldn't adapt to the gravity changes fast enough. The pirate guards finally realized what was happening. They opened fire, but their aim was terrible in the fluctuating gravity. Humans, who had evolved dodging predators and fighting in Earth's variable conditions, moved with an adaptability the pirates couldn't match. One guard managed to corner Taiho. The alien was twice his size, armed with a blade that glowed with energy. "You're trapped, human?" Taiho smiled. His reflexes, trained by growing up in Earth's crushing gravity and dangerous environment, were faster than the aliens by a significant margin. He saw the blade coming, predicted its path based on the guard's muscle movements, and simply wasn't there when it arrived. His counterattack was precise and efficient. The guard dropped. "Team leaders, report," Jinho commanded, from the Indomitable. "Team 1, 73 hostages secured and moving to Extraction Point Alpha. Team 2, 47 hostages secured, no casualties. Team 3, 212 hostages secured, heading to Extraction Point Beta." On the bridge, Yuna's voice came through. "Captain, I have control of the command center. The pirate commander is contained. Most of their leadership is here." Gratok sat in his command chair, unable to believe what was happening. His elite raiders, warriors who had terrorized this sector for years, were being systematically defeated by a handful of humans. He watched the security feeds in horror. The humans moved like nothing he had ever seen. They were fast, coordinated, and utterly relentless. They used tactics his species had never developed because they had never needed to. They fought with a creativity and adaptability that came from millions of years of evolution on a world that punished any weakness. "How?" he finally asked Yuna. "How is your species doing this? You have no advanced weapons, no shields, no battle armor." Yuna checked her communicator, monitoring the rescue operations. "You made a mistake, Gratok. You thought technology made warriors. It doesn't. Warriors make warriors. Every human alive is descended from ancestors who survived on Earth. We're naturally stronger because of our gravity. We're faster because we had to be. We're smarter because stupid humans died before they could have children." She gestured at the screens, showing his forces being defeated. "Your species became powerful because you developed good weapons. My species became powerful because we are weapons. We've been fighting for survival since before we could make fire. War is in our DNA." Admiral Tavarek watched from his flagship as the impossible happened. His sensors showed human teams moving through the station with military precision. They were rescuing hostages faster than his own tactical computers predicted was possible. His tactical officer spoke with something like awe in its voice. "Admiral, I've analyzed the human combat patterns. They don't fight like any military force in the Council database. They fight like predators. Every move is designed for maximum efficiency. They're not trying to intimidate or negotiate. They're trying to win." Tavrek understood then. The Council had classified humans as non-military because they looked at technology. But they had missed the most important thing. Humans had evolved warfare itself. Jinho made his final move. With most hostages secured, it was time to end this. "Doyen, how's our special project?" Doyen grinned at his console. "The pirate flagship's docking clamps are controlled by the station's computer system, which I now control. Ready when you are, Captain." "Teho, are you at your station?" The young pilot had returned to the ship and settled into his seat. "Ready, sir." "Weapons," Jinho commanded. "Target the docking clamps holding the pirate flagship to the station. Precision shots only." The Indomitable fired. Its weapons were primitive kinetic missiles, not the advanced plasma weapons Council ships used. But humans had spent thousands of years perfecting the art of throwing objects at targets. The missiles struck the docking clamps with impossible precision, severing the connection without damaging the station. The massive pirate flagship began to drift away from Viridian 7. Doyen had already hacked its systems. Its shields were down. Its weapons were offline. It was helpless. Jinho opened a channel to all frequencies. Every pirate, every hostage, every council ship could hear him. "This is Captain Jinho of the human vessel Indomitable. Pirates of the Crimson Raiders, your flagship is disabled. Your forces on the station are surrounded. Your commander is in custody. You have 10 minutes to surrender. If you do not, we will demonstrate what Earth's nuclear weapons can do to an unshielded vessel." There was a long silence. Then Grotok's voice came through. "We surrender." Alien SOS called the most dangerous Deathworlders. The command center of Viridian 7 was crowded with people from different worlds. Admiral Tavrek had come aboard the station personally, bringing several council representatives with him. They all wanted to understand what had just happened. How had 5 humans accomplished what should have taken an entire military fleet? The freed hostages were being treated in medical facilities. Council security forces had taken custody of the surrendered pirates. And now, in this meeting room, the galaxy was trying to make sense of the impossible. Velmora stood near the window, her crystalline body still flickering with stress and relief. "Captain Jinho," she said quietly, "you saved over 50,000 lives today. My people owe you a debt we can never repay." Jinho nodded respectfully. "We did what anyone should do when they receive a distress call." Admiral Tavrek was less diplomatic. "Captain, your actions were reckless. You ignored direct orders from Council Command. You engaged a hostile force with a single ship and a tiny crew. By all military logic, you should have failed." "But we didn't fail," Yuna said from her position beside Jinho. She had cleaned up from the fight, but her uniform still showed signs of combat. "We succeeded because military logic doesn't account for what humans are." "And what are you?" one of the council representatives asked. He was a tall, thin being from a peaceful world where conflict was almost unknown. "We've studied your species. Your technology is centuries behind ours. You have no energy weapons, no shields, no advanced propulsion. How did you defeat raiders who have terrorized this sector for decades?" Jinho gestured to Doyen. "Show them." The engineer pulled up a holographic display. It showed Earth, rotating slowly in space. The planet looked beautiful but deadly. Deep blue oceans, green and brown continents, white clouds swirling in complex patterns. "This is our home," Doyen explained. "Surface gravity is 9.8 meters per second squared. Most council species evolved in gravity between 4 and 7. We evolved in gravity that would break your bones within hours. Our entire biology is built for strength and endurance." He changed the display to show Earth's atmosphere. 21% oxygen. Most species find our air toxic or dangerous. We breathe it naturally. We evolved in competition with viruses and bacteria that mutate constantly. Our immune systems fight wars every day that would kill most of you. The council representatives watched in growing understanding and horror. Our planet has had 5 mass extinctions, Doyen continued. Each time, 90% of life died. But something always survived and adapted. Humans are descended from the survivors. We learn to adapt or die. That's in our genes now. Tavarek studied the data carefully. But this doesn't explain your combat ability. Strength and endurance are advantages, yes. But you defeated trained warriors with tactics we've never seen. Hana stepped forward. May I, Captain? Jinho nodded. The doctor pulled up historical records from Earth. The council representatives saw images of human history, ancient battles, medieval warfare, world wars, the progression of weapons from stones to swords to guns to missiles. We've been fighting each other for our entire existence, Hana said quietly. Humans didn't have one enemy. We had thousands. Other tribes, other nations, other groups. We developed warfare as an art form because if we didn't, we died. Every generation got better at combat because the ones who weren't good enough didn't survive to have children. She showed them more images, training methods, military academies, martial arts that were thousands of years old. This is what we are. Every human child learns about conflict from history. Many of us train in some form of combat. It's part of our culture because it had to be. One representative, a peaceful being who had never seen violence firsthand, looked disturbed. You're a species of warriors, natural soldiers. No, Jinho corrected firmly. We're a species that learn to fight when necessary. There's a difference. He pulled up another file. The council representatives gasped. It was Earth's Geneva Conventions and Rules of War. These are rules we created to limit warfare, Jinho explained. We got so good at fighting that we scared ourselves. We developed weapons that could destroy our entire planet. So we made laws. Rules about how to fight, who you can target, how to treat prisoners and civilians. We're not mindless warriors. We're a species that understands the cost of war and tries to minimize it. Tavarek was beginning to understand. You have the capacity for incredible violence, but you also have the wisdom to control it. Exactly, Yuna said. When I fought those guards in the command center, I could have killed all of them. It would have been easier. But I didn't because killing isn't always necessary. We disabled them. We rescued the hostages without unnecessary casualties. We offered surrender terms before using our most dangerous weapons. A young alien who had been rescued earlier asked to speak. She was barely more than a child by her species standards. Why did you help us? You don't know us. Your species isn't even part of council security. Tejo smiled at her. Because that's what humans do. We fight when we need to, but we also protect. Earth taught us to survive, but it also taught us to work together. Humans are social creatures. We form groups, communities, nations. We protect each other. And when we joined the galactic community, that instinct expanded. You're not enemies. You're just people who needed help. The room was quiet as the council representatives processed all of this. Finally, Tavarek spoke. We made a mistake when we classified your species. We looked at your technology and saw primitives. We should have looked at your nature and seen survivors. He stood formally. The Galactic Council will need to update Earth's classification. You're not non-military. You're something we don't have a category for yet. Warriors who choose peace, fighters who prefer mercy, Deathworld survivors who use their strength to protect others. Gratok, the pirate commander, was brought in under guard. He looked at Jinho with something like respect mixed with fear. I want to ask you something, human. Why did you spare my warriors? Your species could have killed everyone on my crew. We would have, in your position. Jinho met the pirate's eyes. Because we learned something important. Being dangerous doesn't mean we have to be cruel. We're capable of terrible violence, yes, but we're also capable of mercy, justice, and compassion. That's what makes us human. Velmora approached Jinho. The other freed hostages want to thank your crew personally. Many have never seen humans before. They They're afraid, but also grateful. You're not what they expected. What did they expect? Hana asked. Monsters, Velamora said honestly. Deathworld creatures, violent and savage. Instead, they met people who risked their lives to save strangers, who fought with skill but showed mercy, who turned their dangerous nature into something heroic. Later, as medical teams checked the freed hostages, dozens of them asked to meet the human crew. They wanted to understand these strange beings who had saved them. One merchant, whose family had been held hostage, spoke to Yuna. My species evolved on a low-gravity moon. We're fragile by your standards. We've never known real danger. But you came from a world of danger and became strong. Thank you for using that strength to protect the weak. Children, their fear replaced by curiosity, asked Taiho questions. Is it true Earth has predators that hunt humans? Do you really train for combat from childhood? Can you teach us to be brave like you? Taiho answered them patiently, explaining that bravery wasn't about being strong or dangerous. It was about doing the right thing even when you were afraid. As the day ended and the council forces took full control of the station, Jinho gathered his crew on the Indomitable's bridge. They're calling us heroes, Doyen said, reading the galactic news feeds. The whole galaxy is talking about what happened here. We did our job, Jinho replied. Nothing more. Sir, Yuna said, Admiral Tavrek has sent us a formal message. The Galactic Council wants to discuss Earth's future role in galactic security. They're offering us a position in their peacekeeping forces. Jinho looked at his crew. They had proven today that humans had something valuable to offer the galaxy. Not just strength, but the wisdom that came from being strong and choosing not to use it unnecessarily. Send word to Earth, he decided. Tell them what happened here. Let them decide our next move. Outside the view screen, Viridian 7 was peaceful again. 50,000 beings would go home to their families. And across the galaxy, people were learning that the most dangerous Deathworlders might also be the best protectors they could ask for. Alien SOS, called the most dangerous Deathworlders. 3 months had passed since the incident at Viridian 7. The galaxy had changed in ways no one expected. Every news broadcast, every diplomatic meeting, every conversation in spaceports across the stars mentioned the same thing. The humans. Earth's United Space Command headquarters was busier than it had ever been. Representatives from dozens of worlds waited in meeting rooms, all wanting to discuss partnerships, treaties, and most of all, protection agreements. The galaxy had learned that humans were not primitive. They were specialized. Admiral Jinho walked through the corridors of the orbital station above Earth. He had been promoted after Viridian 7, given command of Earth's growing peacekeeping division. His old crew had been promoted as well, each taking on new responsibilities. Admiral, an aide approached him with a datapad. The council representatives are ready for the final meeting. They want Earth's formal answer about joining the peacekeeping coalition. Jinho nodded and entered the conference room. Inside, holographic projections showed beings from across the galaxy. Admiral Tavrek was there, along with council military leadership and diplomatic officials. Admiral Jinho, Tavrek began, we've spent 3 months studying what happened at Viridian 7. We've analyzed your tactics, reviewed your combat methods, and examined your species' history. The Galactic Council has a proposal for Earth. He pulled up a display showing military structures and organizational charts. We want to create a new branch of Council security forces led by humans. You would be responsible for hostage rescue operations, emergency response to pirate attacks, and situations that require direct action. One of the Council members, a being of pure energy, spoke carefully. We understand this may seem like we want you to be our soldiers, to fight our battles while we remain safe. But that's not our intention. We want you to teach us, to show other species what you know about survival, combat, and protection. Jinho listened carefully. Back on Earth, the decision had been debated for weeks. Some humans wanted to refuse, to avoid becoming the galaxy's warriors. Others saw it as an opportunity to do good on a larger scale. We have conditions, Jinho said finally. First, human forces will focus on protecting civilians and rescuing hostages. We won't be used for conquest or territorial disputes. Second, we train council species in our methods, so eventually they can handle their own security. Third, Earth maintains full autonomy. We're partners, not subordinates. Tavrik smiled, an expression his species usually reserved for moments of great relief. Those terms are acceptable. In fact, they're exactly what we hoped you would say. You're not interested in power. You're interested in protection. When do we start? Jinho asked. Immediately. We have 300 applicants from other species waiting to train at your new academy. 1 month later, on a training station near Earth, Taiho stood in front of his first class of alien students. They came from 20 different worlds, all volunteers who wanted to learn from the Deathworlders. They looked nervous as they filed into the training hall. Taiho was young for an instructor, but his experience at Viridian 7 had proven his abilities. He studied his students carefully. Some were from low-gravity worlds and moved slowly by human standards. Others had evolved as prey species and had instincts to flee rather than fight. All of them looked at him with a mixture of respect and fear. "Welcome," Taiho said simply. "You're here because you want to learn how humans became effective at combat and survival. The first thing you need to understand is this. We're not special. We're not superhuman or magically strong. We're just products of our environment." He gestured to a holographic display of Earth. "Everything you're going to learn comes from surviving on that planet. High gravity, dangerous weather, hostile wildlife, and constant competition. You can't become human, but you can learn what humans learned." A student raised a tentacle nervously. "Instructor, my species evolved as peaceful herbivores. We have no instinct for fighting. Can we really learn?" "Yes," Taiho said with certainty, "because fighting isn't just about instinct. It's about training, practice, and mindset. Humans weren't born knowing martial arts or military tactics. We developed them over thousands of years and passed them down. You can learn them too." He began the first lesson, teaching them about situational awareness, about reading body language and predicting movements, about using your environment to your advantage. The alien students struggled at first, but gradually they began to understand. Across the station, Yuna commanded her own training program focused on tactical thinking and command decisions. Her students were mostly council military officers who had spent their careers following protocols and avoiding direct conflict. "Scenario," Yuna announced to her class. "You receive a distress call. Civilians are trapped in a building with armed hostiles. Council protocols say to wait for negotiators and establish a perimeter. What do you do?" One officer, from a species that valued caution above all else, answered, "Follow protocol. Wait for proper support." "Wrong," Yuna said flatly. "Every minute you wait, hostages could die. Human doctrine is different. You assess the situation, you calculate risks, you adapt, and if you can save lives by acting immediately, you act." She pulled up footage from Viridian 7, showing how her team had moved through the station. "This is what active response looks like. We didn't wait for permission. We didn't follow a script. We solved the problem using our training and judgment." The officers watched in fascination as the humans moved through impossible situations with confidence and creativity. "Your species has been at peace for so long that you've forgotten how to think like this," Yuna continued. "We're here to remind you, not to make you violent, but to make you effective when violence is necessary." Meanwhile, Doyen ran technical training for computer specialists and engineers. He taught them how to think like hackers, how to exploit system weaknesses, how to turn enemy technology against itself. "The pirates at Viridian 7 thought their security was perfect," Doyen explained to his students. "They isolated their networks, used advanced encryption, and had backup systems. But they made human mistakes. They reused passwords. They trusted their protocols. They didn't expect anyone to be creative." He demonstrated on a simulated system, breaking through layers of security using methods that made his alien students question everything they knew about network safety. "Human computer science evolved through constant warfare," Doyen said. "Hackers versus security experts, criminals versus law enforcement, nations versus nations. We learned to think outside the box because the box was always changing." Back on Earth, Dr. Hana worked at a different kind of training facility. She taught emergency medicine and combat medical care to alien doctors and medics. Many had never treated trauma injuries before. Their species rarely experienced violence. Combat medicine is different from regular healthcare, Hana explained. You work under pressure with limited supplies, often while still in danger. You make choices about who to treat first based on who has the best chance of survival. It's hard, it's traumatic, but it saves lives. She showed them techniques humans had developed through centuries of battlefield experience. How to stop bleeding quickly, how to treat injuries on different alien physiologies, how to stay calm when everything around you is chaos. One alien student, a gentle being who had become a doctor to heal, not to deal with violence, asked, "How do you handle it? Seeing people hurt? Knowing you can't save everyone?" Hana's expression softened. "You remember why you do it. Every life you save matters. Every person who goes home to their family makes it worthwhile. And you lean on your team. Humans learned long ago that we survive better together." News of the training programs spread across the galaxy. What surprised everyone was that humans weren't creating more warriors. They were creating more protectors. Species that had never known combat were learning not to be aggressive, but to be capable, to protect themselves and others when needed. Gratok, the pirate commander, was serving his sentence on a council prison world. He had asked to speak with someone from the human crew, and Jinho agreed to visit. "Why did you come?" Gratok asked, genuinely curious. "You don't owe me anything." "Because you're part of the lesson," Jinho replied. "You attacked Viridian 7 thinking the galaxy was weak. You were half right. The galaxy had become soft, but now it's changing. The species you thought were easy targets are learning to protect themselves." Gratok nodded slowly. "I underestimated humans because I looked at your tools instead of your nature. I won't make that mistake again. Neither will the other raiders. Word has spread. Attacking stations with human protection is considered suicide now." "Good," Jinho said. "That means fewer people get hurt. That's the goal. Not to fight more battles, but to prevent them." As months passed, the results became clear. Pirate attacks on Council space dropped by 70%. When attacks did happen, the new human-trained response teams handled them efficiently with minimal casualties. Species across the galaxy felt safer. But the biggest change was cultural. The galaxy had lived in peace for so long that it had become complacent. Now, inspired by humans, they were remembering that peace required strength to maintain. Not aggressive strength, but the strength to stand up for what was right. 1 year after Viridian 7, Jinho stood on the bridge of the new flagship USC Endurance. It was larger than the Indomitable, with a mixed crew of humans and aliens working together. His former crew served as senior officers, training the next generation. "Admiral, incoming distress call," an alien communications officer reported. She was one of Yuna's first students, now confident and capable. "Medical ship under attack in the Antares sector. Council forces are 12 hours away." "How long until we arrive?" Jinho asked. Taiho, now a commander-in-chief pilot, checked his console. 4 hours, sir." Jinho looked around his bridge at the mix of species working together. Humans who brought experience from Earth's harsh evolution. Aliens who had learned to combine their own strengths with human-taught tactics. Together, they were something new. Something better. "Set course for Antares. Maximum speed," Jinho ordered. As the Endurance jumped to hyperspace, racing to another rescue, Yuna stood beside him and smiled. "Remember when the Council called us primitive?" "They learned better," Jinho replied. "The galaxy called us dangerous. They were right. But dangerous can also mean protective. Deadly can also mean effective. Deathworlders can be heroes." Across the galaxy, more distress calls went out. And more often than not, the call for help went specifically to human forces or human-trained teams. Not because they were the most advanced, but because they were the most reliable, the most dedicated, the most willing to risk themselves for others. The most dangerous Deathworlders had become the galaxy's best protectors. And everyone agreed that Earth's classification needed updating one more time. The final designation read, Category 12 Deathworld, Extreme Threat Assessment, Allied Protector Status, Recommend Cooperation and Partnership. Humans excel at combat but prefer peace. Dangerous when threatened, compassionate when able. Ideal for emergency response and civilian protection operations. Below that, someone had added an unofficial note that spread throughout council databases. If you're in trouble, call the humans. They'll come. And they did. Every time.